On this episode of Locked On Angels, Reid Detmers joins Elite Angels Company with his performance last night, helping the Halos get their third win in extras this season and a series win against the Red Sox. We've got the details for you. And hey, guys, let's sweep the Sox today. How about that? It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Time to subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's really one of the best ways to get in touch with John and I and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Monarch Money. You can take control of your money with Monarch Money. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the First Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, we're lifelong fans of this Angels team. It's our fourth season as a host of Locked On Angels, talking Angels baseball with you every single weekday, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. On today's show, why is Wash saying one thing and doing another? Who's pulling the strings, Michael? We'll explain that in segment 2. We'll also talk about Nolan Schanuel. What's he doing to improve as a hitter this year? We've got some answers for you after a great article with Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register. And I did a little digging because you guys know how I feel about Nolan Schanuel and his swing length. And I did a little digging, and you might be surprised by the results. You probably won't be, but you might be. But first, let's get into recapping last night's win. The Angels win this one 4-3 in 10 innings, Mike.
John, I'm going to be picky, and I'm going to pick on Yusei Kikuchi.
Don't get me wrong. I like winning, but there's a lot to pick on in this game.
Yeah. It was an annoying start from Yusei Kikuchi. He couldn't throw strike one. Every 3-0 count, he threw his slider. Yeah. And that cost him big time in the 6th inning. Gave up a game-tying 2-run home run. Kikuchi gave up 8 hits in this game. He walked 5 in this game. John, this is a stat from Locked On Hall of Famer Brent McGuire. Kikuchi had 44 walks in 32 starts in 175 and 2/3 innings last year. He has 40 walks in his first 13 starts, 69 and 2/3 innings this season. John, what is it about this Angels starting rotation? They've been good.
They keep you in games, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
However, they have walked a lot of guys. We see that with Kikuchi and the walks compared to innings pitched and what he did last year. And John, we see that with Jack Kahanowitz, which has really been his detriment this year. What is it about this starting rotation? They've only had 5 guys, only team to have 5 guys and not have anybody else. They've been able to keep the team in the game. They've really struggled with throwing strikes, and they've walked a lot of batters. What do you think's happening?
When it comes to Yusei Kikuchi, and I said this before the season started, we talked about what he would be like when we signed him. Mike, when you have a weapon like the slider, you're going to have some walks because you're going to get into counts where it's 3-2 and you're trying to get a guy to chase with the slider. That makes so much sense to me. But to throw that slider in 3-0 doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
You got to have a get back in the count pitch, and it's a fastball. Kikuchi sits 97 on his fastball, so I don't understand why he was so conservative with throwing that fastball to get back into the count. So that being said, he's not hitting and using the slider in the moments that he needs to be using it. Sometimes he'll throw it for strike one. Sometimes it's like a get me over pitch. Sometimes he uses it to get back in the count like he was trying to do last night. So all of that to say, I knew that there was going to be walks in his game because when you have a weapon like that, stuff's going to fall out of the zone. The slider starts in the zone and then it falls out of the zone. And the hope is you're going to get a guy to chase. Well, if you're not fooling anybody or you don't have a reason to chase, like in a 3-0 count, then you're not going to get the chase. So it just seems like bad decision-making, bad pitch selection. And the funny thing is that he's had Travis d'Arnaud behind the dish for him. So who knows who's calling the pitches there, whether it's d'Arnaud or Yusei picking him out himself. I would assume it's d'Arnaud because he has led Kikuchi to some great starts over the last couple, but this one was not great. And so it's really interesting to me, the matchups that they go with, because it means Logan O'Hoppe's out of the lineup. It means Trout's at DH, and it means that Kikuchi and d'Arnaud, the way that they're picking their pitches right now, just doesn't make a lot of sense.
We got this word before the game from Barry Enright that he and Kikuchi realized that his grip on the slider and the fastball was changed from last year. Now, Kikuchi changed it. Nobody told him to change it, but he changed it. So Barry Enright said, let's go back to what you were doing last year. And it really had to do with where he was holding his fingers and which one would actually put more pressure on the ball. John, he all indications are he went back to that last night, but it just didn't work. And I thought this was an interesting stat. He's really lucky to have a 3.23 ERA in his first 13 starts, because by ERA estimators like FIP and expected ERA, Kikuchi is really lucky. His FIP is 4.53. His expected FIP is 4.77, and his expected ERA is 4.42. John, he's had some really lucky outcomes, and he's got out of really lucky situations. And he had one where he had the bases loaded and got himself into that mess and only allowed one run at that point and was able to strike out some batters and get a guy to pop out. But John, he's been pretty lucky this season.
Yeah, when you have 8 hits and 5 walks in a game, your FIP is going to climb. Those are the outcomes that you can control as a pitcher without the benefit or non-benefit of defense behind you, right? And so you're going to end up with a high FIP and a high expected FIP if you have a ton of traffic on the bases, which is something that comes along with the Kikuchi territory. So yeah, totally justified to be nitpicky in this one. Fortunately, the Angels bullpen came out and did a great job. Mike, I texted you this. Connor Brogdon, to me, is what Jose Quijada used to be.
Yeah.
High velocity fastball.
Yeah.
I know Quijada, at one point, wasn't Quijada hitting like 99, 100, you know?
Yeah.
And I know Brogdon really hasn't hit that, but Brogdon is so good at deciding when to throw the fastball and the changeup to get guys to expect one pitch and get the other and either swing through it or watch it right down the middle. So Connor Brogdon, to me, I think has earned a place in this bullpen. He's everything Quijada was before Quijada had the Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, let me jump to talking about that bullpen, John. They were asked to really hold this game together. Yeah. Burke, Brogdon, Neris, and Jansen all went 1 inning. They gave up a combined 2 hits. They walked 2, and they struck out 3. Game was tied at 3. The Angels ended up getting the first 3 runs of the game. They got them in the top of the 3rd. They like to do that in bunches, right? So it started with a Joe Adell hit by pitch, and then Chris Taylor walked, and Zach Neto singled, and Adell scored. The runners moved up to 2nd and 3rd because the center fielder sailed the ball up the left field line, and so they were able to be at 2nd and 3rd. Then I loved this moment because we've been frustrated. I've been frustrated with the Angels shading, not shifting, shading on defense. The Red Sox shaded Schanuel to right field.
Say that 3 times fast.
Right. I made it once. I'm not going to try it again. Schanuel hits a little kind of dinky-doo bloop little like excuse me hit to in between shortstop and the third baseman, John. It had an exit velocity of 59.7 miles an hour.
There you go.
But it was exactly what he needed to do in that moment. And he got 2 RBIs because he just pushed it through into left field, and both base runners scored. Zach Neto ran through a Bo Porter stop sign. So glad that he did, because it gave us that 3rd run. John, I loved that approach. And we'll talk about Schanuel's approach in segment 3. I love that approach because he didn't try to crush it, didn't try to smash it, right? He was somebody that got up there and said, I see where they're playing me. There's the hole. If I just can get a hold of a pitch, because they were pitching him away, he went with the pitch and he placed it perfectly.
Yeah, and speaking of placing it perfectly, this is after the bullpen held it down. Burke, Brogdon, Neris, and Jansen all get 1 inning. They gave up a combined 2 hits, walked 2, struck out 3. Top of the 10th, Zach Neto's the ghost runner on second base. JD from Locked On Cardinal says, why do we call him a ghost runner? I can see him out there. So I told him we can call him the Manfred man. But Schanuel puts down a bunt.
Yeah.
And Red Sox pitcher Zach Kelly couldn't make the play, couldn't pick it up. I don't know if there was some nasty spin on the pitch and the resulting bunt. And then Mike Trout follows with a walk. Nothing really in the zone there.
Yeah.
Really kind of pitched around him. Mike, bases loaded, nobody out. You're really hoping that you're going to get a run here, and it's the Angels, so you're really crossing your fingers, your toes, and your eyes, right? So Taylor Ward swings at a 3-1 pitch. He went up 3-0, then 3-1, swings at the 3-1 pitch, grounds in to a double play. A run does score, so it's 4-3.
Yeah.
But then Soler comes up and pops up, and that's the end of the inning. This combination of Taylor Ward and Jorge Soler is just, I tweeted it, it's the pits. Like, this sucks, and I hate it. And for that to happen in that moment, bases loaded, nobody out, you get the run across, but it's the free runner, and you couldn't cash in on anything else, and you swing at that pitch down in the zone on 3-1, let it go by, get a 3-2 pitch and try to do something with it, or take the walk. Just a bad decision on Taylor Ward's part, which is probably why he went, what do you go, 0 for 5, 0 for 4, 0 for 5?
He wasn't good.
Night? Yeah, not good from Taylor Ward. Mike, your boy, Reid Detmers, who you've been a fan of since the beginning, and we've even piled on him previously, but he's really turned it around out of the bullpen, and he joined some elite company, doesn't he?
Yeah, after 28 pitches the night before, there was a lot of questions if he was even going to be in this game, and he came in, and it was a save opportunity, John, and so he got Narvaez to strike out swinging, the first batter, then Trevor Story. He struck out swinging, and then he got Rafaela, who has been just a thorn in the Angels' side. He was the guy that hit the home run to tie the game.
He's a lot better than people give him credit for.
Yes.
I know that he's not had a great start to the year, but he's a good Boston Red Sox.
He's incredible defensively. Like, he is just a great elite outfielder. John, Reid Detmers joined Nolan Ryan and Mike Witt to throw a no-hitter and get a save in franchise history. That's some really good company. They asked him afterwards, Erica Weston asked him afterwards, and he kind of was just like, whoa, I did cool. Like, it was funny to me. From just as a side note, between you and I as brothers, I love really good presenters, and I strive to be a really good presenter in the job that I do in my real life, right? Taylor Ward, Reid Detmers, terrible interviewers. Like, they're terrible interviews. And they, like, I want to sit down and we go, hey guys, let me just give you some crutch words to hang on to. Cause I think he was genuinely shocked and genuinely excited last night. But when they interviewed Taylor Ward after the grand slam walk off, and then they interviewed Detmers last night, it was just kind of like, well, I don't know what to say.
That's why it's hilarious that they give all these, pro sports guys, whether they're in a league or they're retired, all these podcasts. Cause it's like, not everybody can talk.
No,
like, you can play well, and that's why you have the job that you do. But maybe talking's not your strong suit. So, two really good notes here, Mike. They played good defense last night.
They did.
I think a big part of that was Chris Taylor playing second base, which I think he's only been on the team for less than a week, but that's long overdue to have him at second base. I think that was a great move. They turned 3 double plays, and they had a play in the bottom of the second where they threw a runner out at home. It was my guy, Joe Adell, making the catch. Gets it to Zach Neto, to Travis d'Arnaud, a nice relay throw to get Abraham Toro out at the plate. Joe Adell, man, having himself a great couple of weeks here.
He is.
I'm buying in. I'm buying in, Mike. I know, like you said, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Right.
We'll talk in 2 weeks. But when you're doing stuff like that, I think you got a good head on your shoulders. And so credit to him and Neto and d'Arnaud for getting that play done.
The one thing that he did do last year that perhaps will happen this year is he grew in confidence as the year went along. Now, the injury last year, the oblique injury, is what kind of derailed everything for him, but he got better defensively and got better at the plate as the season went along. In fact, his numbers from July on offensively were so much better than he was from May to June. And so I think maybe he just needs some time. He might be a guy that just needs not 100 at bats. He might need 150, 200 at bats, right? He might need more chances in the outfield. And it just seems like he's running with some extra confidence right now, which is really good to see, because I am a Joe Adell fan. I want to see him do really, really well. He can just be so frustrating. Right now, he's not on my Mike doesn't like you list. Luis Rengifo, he's on that list right now. He's frustrating.
yeah, man. And he even tried to steal a bag, and that didn't work out either.
Everything is just not going his way. Yeah, it's not good.
No, not at all. Not at all. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, why is Wash saying one thing and then doing another? We'll share what he's saying and then share what actually happened. And we're also asking a really important question. We'll get to all of that coming right up.
One of the best things in life is something very simple, knowing where your money is going, or maybe even knowing how much money you actually have and what you've spent, and if you're going to be okay when it comes to the bills at the end of the month. That's where Monarch Money comes in, because they are like a personal CFO for you. They're giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. Monarch Money allows you to track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, and you can stop managing your money and being afraid of, oh, do I have enough and what's happening here? And you can start building wealth. And those money conversations with yourself, with your partner, with your family, they're smoother than ever. You can track your shared and personal accounts. You can set goals, stay on the same page without all of the stress. You should take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Let them help you. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB when you go to monarchmoney.com. Get 50% off your first year. Again, that's monarchmoney.com. LOCKEDONMLB is the promo code, and you're going to get half off your first year.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Mike, one of my favorite bits from Seinfeld is when Elaine says that she's not responsible enough to be a babysitter, or her friend says that she's not. And she goes, I'm responsible. And Jerry said, nobody wants to be responsible. The first thing someone says when something's wrong is, who's responsible for this? Mm-hmm. And so in this regard, let's talk about who's in charge here. Which one of you? Who's in charge here? That's the question that we're asking.
Who did that?
Who did that? Yes, exactly. That's the question we're asking, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah. Okay. So on Monday, Trout hits his 10th home run, has a great game against the Sox, hit that 454-foot home run. Wash was asked after the game about moving Trout up. And you and I had a conversation yesterday about where Trout should be. My position was, I think you leave him where he's at for two reasons. One, don't overthink it. Let him get used to being in the lineup a little bit more often. I know he's hot right now. He's got 10 hits in the 4 games that he's been back. But the other thing that I think is really important, John, is he is protection for Taylor Ward and Jorge Soler. I think that they get better pitch selection when he's hitting behind them. Now, I know you want your best hitter to have the most at bats that he possibly can have. So I get moving him up. I understand that from a baseball perspective. So all that to say, somebody said to Wash, hey, so when are you moving him up in the lineup? Mm-hmm. And Wash's response was, he's doing well where he is. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So we expected yesterday when we looked at the lineup, he was going to be 5th or 6th in the lineup, depending on where Wash wanted to slot him. Hey, John, where was he hitting last night? He was hitting 3rd, wasn't he?
Yeah, no longer in the 5th spot. He was hitting in the 3rd spot. So what the heck happened here, Mike?
Right. So is this a case of Ron Washington not thinking ahead? Now, remember, that quote came up when he was talking about Sam Aldeguerri. He said in regards to this move, bringing Sam Aldeguerri up to the major league roster, will it hinder his development? And he said, we haven't thought that far ahead. Now, for some clarity,
we're doing that segment, right? With the
we need to. Yeah, we need to. For some clarity, Jeff Fletcher said, because Sam Blum kind of jumped all over that. Jeff Fletcher said, I don't know if I positioned this quote in the right context. Yeah. So there might be more that we're missing in the context. But just having that quote of like, we haven't really thought that far ahead.
I don't even know what I'm having for breakfast tomorrow.
Right? Yeah. Right. So is this that case of we haven't thought ahead? Or, John, do you think that the front office is intervening? There's been moments, we've pointed them out in the first few months of the season, where Wash has been doing something and then there was an immediate change that felt very unwash-like. Like, for example, simple example, Tim Anderson batting 5th on opening day. We're like, why is he batting 5th? He never sniffed batting 5th for the rest of his time with the Angels. And so I'm wondering if you think that what happened with Trout was a moment where Wash they weren't thinking ahead and it just kind of happened? Or do you think, like in the Tim Anderson situation, that maybe somebody from the front office, like Perry Manassian, said, hey, buddy, let's get on the phone. Why don't you go to my office? Let's have a conversation because I don't like what you're doing here.
Yeah. I was just thinking of what you can't start Pena. Is that what the quote is from Moneyball?
Yeah. I traded him. Can't start Pena. Yeah.
Look, there have been many times this season, Mike, where we have said somebody's got to get on the phone from the front office to Ron Washington and say, hey, you're not doing that anymore. I think what threw us for a loop in this situation was the fact that you got Trout coming back as the DH. You're kind of easing him into having a full-time role in the lineup again, right? And he's been off for a month. Of course, he has this tremendous, reset, and he's having a great start to this month so far, which is fantastic. Nothing wrong with that. But you kind of think after Ron's quote from the other night of, he's doing well where he is, it's either it's a non-answer or it's the answer we thought it was, which is, no, he's going to stay at fifth, right? And so perhaps it's a non-answer in the sense that he meant that he was going to be flexible, or perhaps it's the other option where he meant what he said. Trout's going to stay at fifth, and someone made a phone call and said, no, we got to get him back up in the order. Don't you think it's time? Doesn't Trout feel like it's time? Don't you guys think that it's time to move him up to where he belongs? And look, I don't really have a problem with the fact that Trout went from fifth to third, but that's not the conversation we're having here, right? The conversation we're having here is we get a lot of somebody says one thing, another thing happens, and then we just wonder, and I said it at the top of the show, who's pulling the strings here when it comes to the front office and Ron Washington. For the most part, I will say, I believe Perry Minasian has given Ron Washington a lot of autonomy, a lot of the ability to make his own decisions about this roster, about this team, about who plays where, et cetera, et cetera. However, I think as a GM, sometimes you do got to step in and say, hey, you're not batting Tim Anderson fifth anymore. That's ridiculous. But the thing is here is that Perry's the one who hired Ron Washington. We say it all the time. Perry came in when Madden was already here. Then we had can't think of his name. Next manager, Phil Nevin. Thank you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's new dad brain. We had Phil Nevin, who Perry kind of was, saddled with, really. So this is the first time he gets to make a decision and hire somebody. And I think maybe they kind of have that kind of relationship, Mike, where it's like, hey, look, I understand that you're trying to ease Mike back into the situation, but it's time to move him up. It's time to get him back where he belongs. So I think that there's a lot that you could jump on here and really say, well, who's pulling the strings? If I wanted to do a YouTube thumbnail and really do the clickbait thing, we could do that. But I think at the end of the day, I think you really have to consider their relationship as a front office and a manager, and the fact that Perry is the one that Ron Washington hired. But what say you?
I think that you are correct. I think also that Perry Minasian has tightened the boundaries, has
fair.
Pulled the reins a bit this year, right? Because last year there was a lot of flexibility. There was a lot of room for Wash to stick with the veteran guy and not have the young guy come up and play. And we felt like there was a couple of players where they were just like Ron Washington just didn't like those guys. And so I think for this season, Perry Minasian has really said, hey man, here's what I'm looking for. Here's what we're trying to achieve here. And especially, John, after losing streaks. Yeah. I think you and I have been like, hey, is somebody get on the phone? Is somebody saying, right? I think that probably is happening. We're guessing. We don't have confirmation, right?
Sure.
But I think that is something that is happening. And I think in this case, like with Mike Trout, even though he had a great game on Monday night, I think Tuesday night, Perry Minasian before the game might have said to Wash, hey man, he has more at bats. Our number 3 hitter gets the most at bats. And we want him to have the most at bats and not be lower in the lineup. Because if you're going to use Mike as a decoy, and what I mean by that is he's going to be the guy that helps Soler and Ward get better pitch selection, that's okay, right? But that's for like 38, 39-year-old Mike Trout. That's not 33-year-old Mike Trout, right? Yeah. Especially if he's hot. And so Mike looks good, by the way. Swing looks good. He looks like he's seeing the ball well. I get moving up. I think Perry may have made a phone call, may have said, Wash, we got to do this because this is the best move for our team right now.
Yeah. And you know what? It would have worked until it didn't, right? Like he could have very well hit fifth and gone 0 for 4.
Yeah.
Or, 0 for 3 with a walk, right? And so I think we would be having a very different conversation today if the results had been different. And not to say that depends on the Angels winning or losing the game, but more of the results that Trout put up at the plate in last night's game.
It's time to get the supplies you need from the site that's made for all the skilled trades. It's SupplyHouse.com. It's a place where you can find plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work. SupplyHouse.com is the most reliable way to order products online. They have an easy-to-use website with all sorts of helpful resources, product info, help you get the job done right. They have an inventory of over 200,000 parts with 400-plus top brands, which means you're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And when you do make an order, Supply House has expert support and industry-leading service. You're going to talk to a real person every single time. And if you're a trade pro, they have a free Trade Master program that's going to offer exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals have already taken advantage of this, and now it's your turn. You can join the free Trade Master program at supplyhouse.com/TM, and you can order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And when you do, at checkout, use our promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order at supplyhouse.com.
Real quick before we get into this discussion about Nolan Schanuel, you said something the other day that I really think we got to make a shirt out of it. You said win series, not win streaks. I like that because, at the end of the day, win streaks are fun.
Right.
But when it all comes collapsing or you lose that final game, the Brewers just lost their 8-game win streak. And I blamed
Bob Nightingale.
They got Bob Nightingale, right? Just like
it's
we got
fault.
Bob Nightingale. We got boobed by Nightingale because he always spells things wrong. So we spell his name wrong on purpose. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Nolan Schanuel. He just finished a great month of May. Listen to this line. A 302 batting average, a 402 on base percentage, a 375 slugging percentage with a 777 OPS in the month of May. He had a 8.6% K rate and a 13.2% walk rate. I love me some WRC plus, Mike, 124 WRC plus. That means he was 24% better than the league average hitter. So far, he has improved in nearly every StatCast metric that you can think of, whether that's hard hit, bat speed, all of that stuff. So what is Schanuel doing at the plate right now?
Well, he said that he has a new approach at the plate. Last year, he was just looking to get hits. He said that was my plan. Last year, I was just looking at a pitch and trying to hit it. Now, this year, he said his mentality has shifted. Can I do damage with this particular pitch? He said the hitting coaches sat him down a few weeks ago, and they suggested, hey, let's refine some things that you're doing at the plate. Schanuel said in the past, I was more of a location guy. If it was a certain location, no matter the pitch, I was going to swing at it, no matter what kind of pitch it was. If it's in this spot, that's where I'm swinging. But he said, now my approach is, can I do anything with this pitch? Yeah. He said I'm hunting mistakes, which means he wants to be aggressive. He doesn't want to miss. But I also love this, John. He also said, if I miss my pitch, the mistake that's thrown, then I'm choosing to be patient and not go after everything. He admitted that means I'm going to have a lot of 2-strike counts. I'm going to have a lot of full counts. You saw that last night, and you've seen that in the last few weeks. He said, I think that's okay for me because I don't get intimidated like Mike Trout doesn't get intimidated with 2 strikes. He said, I have good hand-eye coordination. I'm okay with getting 2 strikes because I think most of my hits are probably 2-strike hits anyway.
Can I tell you something that drives me crazy after I hear that? And this has nothing to do with Schanuel because what he's doing is fantastic. To hear that he was approached by the hitting coaches and they said, what can you do with this pitch? And maybe if I miss my pitch, then I'm going to find a pitch that I can hit the other way, right? Like 59 miles an hour the other way,
right? Like he did last night.
Score 2, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, where is this mentality for literally everybody else, Mike, on this team right now? Because it seems like everybody goes up there with one approach, one idea in mind, and they don't know how to adjust. And they're afraid of 2 strikes, right? And with Nolan, I think that's a great attitude to have. I'm okay with 2 strikes. I'm just going to foul stuff off if I have to. I'll wait till the next good pitch comes around. And so I guess what I mean to say is it drives me crazy that we see like flashes of, okay, there's good coaching. But for the most part, you see stuff like what Taylor Ward and Soler tried to do last night, and that's just crush everything or swing at stuff they shouldn't be swinging at. It's just so back and forth sometimes.
Well, that brings up a good thought. It brings up this thought. that Schanuel, and he even said it in this article as he talked with Jeff, his swing is conducive to being able to foul pitches off because of what he's doing, but also because of the work he's done on his swing length, right? And you have some stats about that. Why don't you share that with us?
Well, I'll just say, swing length was the big thing that I looked into over the offseason for what made Nolan Schanuel successful. He had this huge month of July last year, and I looked at the different things that he was doing. And one of the things we often talk about is dude's got to shorten up. His swing is way too long for a guy who's not hitting for very much power. Giancarlo Stanton has the longest swing in baseball, and that's because he crushes everything, right? And Luis Ariz has the shortest swing in baseball, and that's because he gets base hits and he knocks stuff in. And so if you think about it that way, you want Nolan Schanuel to shorten up. Well, the good news is he has on fastballs, especially in the month of May. He did some real damage on fastballs. Let me pull up my numbers here because I got these from StatCast, and I'm going to share these with you. So in the month of May, he shortened up his swing and ended up hitting 384 against fastballs, right? And then for breaking balls, I thought this was really interesting. So stuff like a slider or curveball, that sort of thing, sweeper. He actually, his swing length did go down, but his swing length compared to fastballs is actually longer, which makes sense when you're sitting on a pitch that's a little bit slower than a fastball or a sinker or a cutter or something like that. So as a breaking ball comes in, he does have a little bit longer of a swing, and the results are there. In May, he hit 348 against breaking pitches. So he's just tearing it up. The one thing that drags him down was the off speed. So the change up and maybe a splitter, right? And he hit 235 against those in May, but that's up from 111 in the month of April. So across the board, Nolan is hitting these pitches so much better. And a lot of it has to do with shortening up his swing, but still having a good longer-ish swing when it comes to the breaking pitches. So really interesting stuff from Nolan Schanuel.
I love a good mic drop moment. And what I mean by that is a moment in baseball where somebody who has been just dragged through the mud proves that they're actually better than what some of the fans have said about them dragging them through the mud. I love that Nolan Schanuel is looking more like Wally Joyner lately.
Yeah.
And is hitting really well, because there were some fans that were just dragging him through the mud, need to send him down. He's not a great hitter. His swing sucks. He needs more power, all of those things. This guy knows hitting, and he's proving it, and he's improving every single season. I love his approach. Hunt the mistakes by being aggressive. If you miss the mistake, then be patient and swing at a pitch that you can do something with, even if you have 2 strikes. Shortening up his swing on a fastball, maybe getting a little bit longer on a breaking pitch. That to me tells me that that's somebody who actually understands hitting in a really significant way.
And when you think about the fact that he's not a power hitting first baseman that you're typically looking for, right? There's a lot of power to go around this lineup from other places. And so, the Padres seem to be doing just fine with somebody like Ariz
right
over at first base, right? And he has his dinky-do hits, but Nolan has proven to have a little bit more power than that. He's hitting the ball harder. He's barreling more. And so the power, I think, will come for this guy who, again, is 6'4", 23 years old. Like the power is going to come for Nolan Schanuel.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. You're going to find that on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube. Get in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you. We always do our best to try to get back to each and every one of you. Mike, Thursday, what do we have on deck for Locked On Angels?
Jeff Passan did an article about way too early comments on what each team should do at the trade deadline, because it is still way too early to have
I love
those
way too early stuff.
Yes.
It's my favorite thing.
He wrote about the Halos, and so we're going to share what he said, and then we're going to discuss if Jeff Passan is right or if he's wrong. What do the Super Halo brothers believe? We'll talk about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Will we be passing on his takes? We'll find out tomorrow. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
I'm not even going to comment.
He can't do it.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
All right, friends. We hope you'll come back and join us. Until then, we'll see you later. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.
It was terrible. Thanks a lot, Corey.
I'm a dad now. My power has increased.